Ladies and gentlemen, your hosts, Michael Wilkes, Angel Ortiz, Dr. Chad, and Sam La Cavera. Go check out beardedbrowns.com and be sure to like, follow, and subscribe. Enjoy the show.
What is up, everybody? What's up? Share the feed. Comment below. It's Combine Talk. Let us know who you liked, who disappointed you, who you want to draft now. Who are you going to draft that number 6 pick? Has it changed? Has it not changed? We're going to talk about that and more. We're going to give you our Debbie Downers and our uppers, like who impressed us and who disappointed us. We're going to get all to that. We're going to talk about the Brown Stadium thing. We're going to do every ounce. We're going to cover as much as we can, and hopefully under an hour and a half. It's just two of us, so it should be a little easier. So we're going to get into it. Chad, how are you?
I'm pretty good. Yeah, I'm ready to go. We're getting close to the time of the year that I really like in the off season when something's actually happening. That's it's always a highlight for me. Like that, the Browns seem to be done so early most years that you have to sit through the playoffs. You still get your football, but like nothing's really happening for the Browns except for a every other year coaching search typically. And then you've got like this February lull where like football is over, but you can't really even start talking about stuff because the draft isn't ready. Free agency hasn't happened. And now we are getting into the real meat where like free agency is about to happen. The draft, the combine just happened and all the all-star games are done. So you actually have like a really good overall like group of stuff to talk about for the first time. And it will be ongoing until the actual draft happens, which is great.
Yes. And speaking of draft, I'm glad you brought that up. We have a pretty big announcement going on. Last year, we did a draft party at JB's Tavern in Brook Park, Ohio. But this year, we got a call from Danny from the West Park Browns backers. And he said, hey, guys, I want you guys to do a draft party at PJ McIntyre's. And we were like, sold. We are in. So huge announcement. We're partnering with the West Park Brown backers group. And we're going to do a live draft party starting from 7 to 11, basically when the draft ends. It's free, no cost. You come, bring your body, bring somebody, bring their friends. You come, we're going to break it down pick by pick and analyst by analysis. We're going to try to stay away from not too much boring technical stuff. We're just going to give you strong takes and probably some stats too, because you need to know why that person went where they went. So come and join us 7 o'clock at PJ McIntyre's on April 23rd. Me, Mike, Sam, Logan. I was going to say Chad.
Not this time.
Gary. Yeah, not this time. And Gary will be there. I will personally be in the crowd getting interviews, getting content, and talking to people about the Browns and getting some feedback of how we feel our Browns. So mark your calendar for that date. Follow us on the socials if you need a reminder. We will be there. It's going to be a fun night. We did ours at JB's last year. We had Ralph Holly there. It was pretty dope. I think this year is going to be even better. Danny from the Browns backers, he's like, dude, I'm going all in. I got this, I got that. He's got a lot planned. So it's going to be an exciting night. And it's free. You just go there, you eat food, you drink drinks, and then you get to talk with us. We'll take pictures. We'll sign babies' foreheads if you want us to. We'll just have a fun night. It just sucks, Chad, that you can't be there. Hopefully, if this is a trend, which it might be with the Browns backers, with this one specifically, maybe next year we can plan ahead, and then you can come in and interact.
Yeah, I think it's a realistic trip, and this year just happens to fall like 2 weeks after I'm gone for 2 weeks in Japan. So there's no way I feel like my job's gonna be like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
we barely missed you for the entire month of April, but sure, take a couple extra days
Taking
off."
more just to go to
So
Cleveland.
if it just weren't the timing on that one, then it'd be a little different. So unfortunately, that date can't be adjusted, but it would be a cool thing to be able to get in and do another live stream like we did over Christmas and actually, at a bigger event. The Christmas one was just a typical like after game like recap and show, and it'd be cool to do like such a big event. Especially this one's going to be great for you guys because especially the first day, the Browns have 2 picks, and it's so spanned. So who knows if they'll trade back, what they'll do, but everybody's gonna kinda, like, be hyped up early for those first 5 picks to figure out how things land for the Browns, but then unlike a typical year, everybody's gonna have to stay engaged through all the teens and into the 20s.
And
The Browns trade up, stay back, but it basically spans the whole first round where you're looking at how things land for the Browns, and that's pretty unique for a first round. It hasn't been like that for a while. In
there
fact,
is
we haven't had a first rounder for a while, let alone, 2.
2. And
Right.
by 24, people will be drunk. So depending on that pick, that people might be booing, rioting in West Park. Shout out to Danny Cleveland. He's in the chat right now. He said hello from West Park. That is the Browns backer president that invited us. It's going to be a fun night. So mark your calendar. We're going to remind you every week. So if you forget, you're eventually going to sign up anyways. We did the event page on Facebook. Go to there and sign up. Let us know you're going. So let's get into more, not better stuff, because I think that's a little cool
That's
information
the
there.
best
But
stuff. That's the
that's the
best
best
stuff
stuff.
of the
Let's
show.
get into this stuff that doesn't matter. First is the NFL news. 4 players were tagged today by the 4 p.m. deadline. George Pickens, which was expected. Kyle Pitts, which is expected. Kevin loves that because he loves his tight end. Brees Hall, the Jets. And Daniel Jones was transition tagged. So a team has an opportunity to make him an offer, and the Indianapolis Colts have a opportunity to either match or say, no, that's too much.
Yeah.
Interesting.
You don't see that very often. That's rare.
No.
And actually, I was gonna ask you, I know the NFL is fading away from the franchise tag. They don't like to use it because the players despise it. In fact, there's already George Pickens, like, trade rumors
Yeah.
that coming out, and there's immediately was like George Pickens is unhappy with this and thought his breakout season should be rewarded with a long-term contract, all the stuff you'd expect. I was gonna ask, though, even with them fading away from it, did you expect more than 4? Because I did expect more than just 4.
I did. I expected maybe 5 to 6, and I can't think of the player off the top of my head that I thought was going to get. Oh, Seattle's the running back from Seattle. They just got the MVP.
Kenneth
Well,
Walker?
yeah, I thought maybe they would try to get him in, but they're
Yeah.
probably thinking, yeah, we're just going to draft somebody. We don't need you around
And
anyways.
also
Um,
they've got a really good duo, and I could see the situation where as great as Kenneth Walker is, they just got the most they're gonna get out of him, and that's an
they're
Super
like,
Bowl MVP and a
yeah,
Super Bowl trophy, and so I could see them saying, like, "We're just gonna move forward with the guy that we kinda brought in 2 years after you, and then fill in another 2nd guy rather than overpaying the running back position." Honestly, I love Kenneth Walker, and I like him better than Charbonnet personally, so I would wanna keep him, but I felt like the writing was almost on the wall when they used such a high pick on Charbonnet with
yeah,
Walker already in the building, where it was like, okay, so they're probably similarly to when it was like Kareem Hunt and Chubb, and you're like, "That's great, they're both here," but they're not going to keep them both for, like, 8 years. Like, once the contracts end, one of them is moving on, and it was Kareem Hunt, and they stayed with Chubb, and then eventually the other, but it's just a realistic scenario. Um, I think the use on Brees Hall was pretty good though, because running back position is not the highest paid. The franchise tag doesn't like kill you to tag a running back. Hopefully they can use this to get time together to do a long-term deal because I think he's a really talented player for them. But I could see them without their quarterback situation solved, similarly to ours, not wanting to put a ton of money into something like a running back. I
yeah.
think that's a big reason why the Browns are going so young and not signing big guys to huge deals or bringing high priced free agents. last year and probably not this year, because until you have your quarterback situation solved and like your foundation, you just don't want to use assets and money too unwisely.
Yeah. Do you think somebody's going to make an offer for Daniel Jones?
I
He's
don't.
coming off an injury. That's what hurts him is that
That's what
injury.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I think was a great
Yeah.
tag for them because they can keep the price to a reasonable spot, and, like, coming off that injury without being able to pass a physical and get into camp early, I don't think somebody's gonna offer him, like, a multi-year
Yeah.
contract, especially because the Colts are familiar with him, they can pull this off, but other teams aren't sure how he'll do with their coaching or, like, their scheme, and that makes it a little bit tougher. I think they
Yeah.
pretty much just locked him in by doing that. It was a pretty savvy move, I think.
Yeah. I think to myself, if he was healthy, man, I think Todd Monken would be like, that Daniel Jones guy, he's
Yeah.
got some mobility, he's got an arm. He had a pretty impressive year last year. I don't think they would offer him big money. I think, like you said, they're going younger, but it would be interesting to see
The
what
guy's
type
gotta
of
deserve a Baker deal at this point, right?
yeah,
That, like, that
yeah.
that initial, like,
He's
3-year whatever it was,
right
like,
now
three-year.
it's probably a little higher now because of quarterback
It's high
inflation.
now.
Yeah.
Originally, though, I think they gave him, like, a 3-year, like, 30 mil deal or
Yeah, I was
something
gonna
or
say
whatever it
30.
was, and you're like, "Okay."
So
Like,
maybe now
that
it's
doesn't
go
kill you.
3-year 40, 45 for him.
Yeah, it's changed so much.
Yeah.
The cap goes up.
Cap, you know, high, high,
We
high.
gave Deshaun 40 mil, and it was like, "This is the most a quarterback can have." And by
Then
the
they
next year, it's like he was 8th, and by the next year, he
yeah.
was like 14th in, like, quarterback
I
salaries.
mean, if you were to think about it, I
Changes
you
so
put it
fast.
that way, if it would have worked out to where he played,
He
that
looked
was
brilliant.
probably the best contract move Andrew
Yeah.
Berry's any
That's why
NFL
I wasn't
team would
mad
do.
at the contract when they made it. I didn't like what they gave up in draft capital. I was
Yeah, they
mad
gave
at,
up a
like,
lot on that.
you gave up 3 firsts and a third and whatever, too much, and the price, the fact that it's guaranteed and he's been so injured is the negative, but had he never got injured, it wouldn't feel like that big of a waste because right now he's probably like the 18th highest paid quarterback, and he's on the last year of that deal. If he was even playing average, you'd be like, "Okay," but the fact that he's just I say it all the time, he wasn't great, sure, he wasn't what we were hoping for, but he won games. He was 5-1 or whatever the year
Yep.
before he got that giant major injury, and he never really recovered from it, and then, you know, for the first year because of suspension, 6 games,
Mm.
second year, 6 less than 6 games, third year, less than 6 games, next year, he missed completely. So you're
Yep.
talking about a guy that's played an average of 4 games a season. You can people are saying
Yeah.
like, "Oh, man, he just isn't good enough for the contract." He's not good enough, he's not even playing.
Yeah,
If
not
he
even
played,
playing.
he'd be good enough for the contract.
James said, rumor is Malik Willis was contacted by the Arizona and was asking for 30 mil a year, and Arizona said we are thinking 40 mil a year for Malik. That is,
So they were expecting 40 mil and he's
yeah, they're
asking for 30?
expecting. I think he was asking, and Arizona said we were thinking 40 mil, so they thought he was going to ask for 40. So I guess he's saying that they might pursue Malik. We'll see. I actually the quarterback there is going to be cut. So that's an opportunity for a guy to get, I guess, what's his name? Oh, Murray. 1 point, if a team picks up Murray, they just have to pay $1.3 million for him.
Right, and actually, it makes it really interesting because somebody I presented this to somebody this week. So the 3 quarterbacks, we can almost just skip to, it's later in the show, but since we're on it, the 3 quarterbacks, Geno Smith, I believe, got released
Yeah.
already. Kyler Murray's expected to be released. Tua is expected to be released. I
Free
think
agency. Yeah.
the Tua and Kyler portion have a little bit more to do with are they gonna be able to bring somebody in for that role? So I don't know if they're necessarily 100% free, but it does beg the question, would you rather pay $30,000, $30 million for Malik Willis or 1,000,000 for Kyler Murray? And I honestly
Yeah.
probably would rather just take the 1,000,000 flyer on Murray
And
or
Kyle.
Tua
How about
than
Gino?
I don't like Geno Smith all that much, but I do think around the NFL
He's
people
like,
are higher on
yeah.
him than me. They I think I could see how you could look at him as a great transitional quarterback. Um, If he gets cut, you'd think he'd be willing to come in as a backup somewhere. He's not gonna be like, "I wanna start or nothing." At this point in his career, I think if he's getting
Yeah.
cut, he's probably this late in the game, probably thinking, "Okay, I'll go in and compete somewhere."
Yeah.
I
Since
think
we're on free agent, yeah.
all 3 of them have a chance to beat out everybody in our room for a start. I don't know how you could not think all 3 of
Yeah.
those guys could have a chance to win out the room.
Speaking of free agency, a couple of people in the chat wants to sign our kicker Bojorquez needs to be signed and Schmidt. So hopefully the Browns work out that. I'm pretty sure they get Schmidt done. I don't know,
I
Bojorquez.
thought Schmidt had another year in his deal. Maybe I'm wrong.
I thought he did too, but when I looked it up, I think they do need to do
Okay.
something with that.
They've talked about it like that problem is solved. Like, he specifically said, Haslam in the end of your press conference, like, "We've solved the kicker problem."
So
So they're
you better,
obviously
yeah,
going
they're
to
going to
do
keep
it.
him. Yeah,
They're not gonna say we solved it and then let him walk, so
yeah. Um, On to the other signing. Actually, it happened a couple days ago. Uh, was it yesterday? Yeah, Monday. Yesterday. The Titus Howard, right tackle, right guard, versatile offensive line guy. Browns not only traded a fifth for, which was the Kenny Pickett ordeal,
Mhm.
but they also extended him 3 years, $63 million. Um, which threw up everybody's like, "Oh, sweet, we got a right tackle," and then like 3 minutes later, a deal drops that they signed him 3 years and 63 million. They're like, "What? Wait, what's going on? Why are we signing this guy for 20 million a year?" Um, well, if you want to get into it, we can get into it. His pass blocking is pretty good, so
Pass blocking
uh,
is great.
really good.
His run blocking kinda
His
sucks.
run blocking is
So
iffy. His run blocking needs help. So my guess is whenever they run on that side, someone's going to help him. Um, or I mean, the numbers are right. Left tackle, he played left tackle 245 snaps, left guard
Mhm.
1,971, center 0, right guard 135, right tackle 3,588. So obviously he's right heavy handed.
Yeah.
So and he played a little bit guard. So maybe if he doesn't work out in tackle, you can just
Right.
slide him over a little bit on guard.
I'm shocked that they would spend that much money on a guy they were planning on playing guard, which makes me feel like the plan is probably right tackle, right? Like, I don't think
That's what I'm
this would
thinking.
make him if he were to play guard, I think this contract would make him the 4th highest paid guard in the league right now, and I doubt they were bringing in the 4th highest paid guard in the league. But I do think it's just one of those positions where you feel a little more comfortable putting something into him because you don't have a much of a bust feeling since you I don't know the splits. I would love to see, like, I've seen his PFF grades. They're very inconsistent. It was down last year overall in the 60s, which is still good. That's still a starting tackle. His pass blocking was close to 80. His run blocking was bad. But when I looked historically, he had like 2 or 3 years in his past that were higher than last year, and then he had like 4 years that were lower. So he's been overall inconsistent since he came into the league, but again, I'd love to see those splits and see did they happen to like do their own research and see as a guard he was great. So we can have a tackle out of him, and if by chance it doesn't work out, we know he can replace Batonio, and then we'll figure it out, or however it works. So it's like it just feels like it was a hefty contract, but if he does work as a right tackle, it's kind of going to be
When
par.
yeah.
And if he turns to guard, it's just okay. You have a higher priced guard, but you've got an automatic starter on your line.
James asks, "What does that mean for Dwan Jones?" I think he'll move to guard. I think they're going to want to
I
put
think
him
he's
at guard.
too big for guard. I think.
I've read a lot of reports saying that they're going to try to move him to guard. We'll see,
Wow,
though.
I he seems
See.
like
He's.
he was almost too big to play tackle when he first came in the league, and they really had to slim him down. I just think he's too big to be a guard,
Do you
but
need to
I
be
also
quick to be
think
a guard?
was that
Do you need to be quick to be a guard?
no, but the guards typically have a little bit of a lower center of gravity than a tackle. You know, a lot of times that's why they predict when you see in the draft and they're like, this guy's projected at right tackle, but this guy played right tackle in college, but in the NFL, we could see him as a guard. Usually that's based on some of it could be his movement. Guards need to be sometimes a little better at going forward versus backwards. Because as a tackle, you're constantly just shooting backwards, and as a guard, you're less exaggerated because your pocket creation is just a little dip. The tackles are taking a big dip. But the big thing for me is when you see those, like last year, they had two guys that they're like, well, they played tackle in college. In the NFL, they might project more as a guard. A lot of times that has to do with like they have a little shorter hand length or they're a little
Yeah.
shorter. And so like they don't have the reach around to get to an edge defender going like shallow. And I don't know. I just think he's so tall and he's so big. As a guard, he'd almost be in the way a little
Yeah.
bit.
The
He's
Land
right in front of
Media
the
Group.
quarterback's eyes.
The Land Media Group, by the way, our media group, the Land Media Group in the chat said, imagine Gabriel trying to throw over.
That's
Devon
what, and
Jones.
I didn't want to say it specifically, but like I even Sanders, like Sanders is like what
He's
6'2", like
6'1",
you're looking
6'2".
at 6'1" maybe, and whatever he is, he's not 6'6", and so like I'm just thinking like that guy standing right in front of you when you look left to like make a quick check down, he's so big, wide and tall. Like, can you see around
Can
him
you
to
see
know that
around his arm?
your tight end's coming around the corner or that your
No.
your running back is open? Like, it just feels like, oh, that's a big ask.
Yeah, I
But I do
feel
think there's
y
always a
yeah,
natural feeling for people to say like, this guy's failing at tackle, we'll move him to guard, or this guy's failing at corner, we'll move him to safety. And I just think
it's
it
harder than
just
what it
rarely
is.
happens
Yeah.
unless the guy's more projected to that fit.
That's why I'm worried. We'll get into that about the tackles being drafted,
Yeah. But don't
guards.
fret, guys. At worst, I think he's gotta stay healthy, but if he ends up a backup, like Dawg Jones has already shown he can play on the right
If he's
side.
healthy,
He
yeah, he's just gotta
Yeah,
stay
he
healthy.
swung to the left. The big thing would be, like, you're still gonna keep him on the roster. He's still only 2 years into his rookie 4-year contract, and he's got some versatility, and health is the issue, so maybe he still maintains even if we draft another tackle to play the left side in the draft and he's ready to go day 1, you still have you we've gone through tackles like like I mean, these are like chips every year. We go through them so fast that to have a guy that can swing both sides is still a huge asset for this
Yeah.
team. And don't count out the fact that he could continue to develop, get healthier, and in another year or two, take over as a starting tackle on one side or the other, which is what I always imagined out of him. He plays backup or he swings around. He becomes our swing tackle. Conklin retires and he steps in the right tackle role. The problem is he's just never stayed healthy enough to
To do
make that
that.
transition. This would be the perfect timing for it.
Yeah. What do you think about this? Sam says, I can't see us picking up a right tackle like Fano at pick 6 because of the addition of Titus Howard. Probably need
I
to pick up a guard left tackle. Now, if they do,
I see what he's saying.
yeah. I
He's
mean,
right. I
you're
mean,
paying
he's right.
someone 20
It
something
makes
million.
you feel like if they see Fano and what is it? Magua? Is that how you say it?
I can't say that name. You
What's his first
Mawaga.
name?
I mean, don't put it on me, dog.
Mawaga, whatever it
Yeah,
is. So it was the tackle from
from Miami.
Miami and Fano from Utah. It does give you that feeling of um, maybe that's not such a lock to pick at 6. Maybe they would hold out for somebody that they imagine being a
A
left
left
tackle that they could
tackle
get a little bit later,
from
and that shifts you
Georgia.
towards I mean,
Yeah,
that's
we'll
one.
talk about that
There's
later.
there's about two guys that I think stand out. For me, if you want him to start this year, you better not get him after the 2nd round or you're playing
No,
with
yeah,
fire. It's just
yeah.
not a normal thing to expect. So so again, if they don't pick up a left tackle in free agency, which I don't imagine because that's pretty pricey, they're stuck with KT Levinson,
Is
Dawg
there a left
Jones,
tackle
and
coming out
whoever
in
they
free
pick in the
agency?
draft.
Is there
And
a free
again,
ta
Sam's
left
right.
tackle?
You should be hesitant to assume they're taking a tackle at 6 now, like I was almost assuming, because they're not gonna wanna pick this guy up, pay him $20 million a year, and immediately move him to guard. So,
Yeah,
it doesn't count it out. If they're like, "Spencer Fano is our number 1 player in this entire draft," taking him at 6 and we'll figure out where each one will play, then that's fine. And for the record, he did play left tackle in college. He moved to right, and his teammate is also a projected first rounder who played left. So I don't know. Somebody might project him as a left in the NFL still. I just don't love that.
Yeah, there's some left tackles out coming out, unrestricted free agents out there.
Hmm.
They're cheap. I guess you can probably get one still in free agency. It'd
Yeah.
probably be an older guy, 26. Yeah, I see on Spotrac have
And
a
if
couple
they
of people
and
on there.
there's the other thing of you draft a 1-year guy and you let one of these other guys develop behind him.
Yeah.
Or I mean, you bring in a 1-year guy. So we'll see. We'll see how it shakes out. Free agency will tell us a lot more about the draft, but the fact that they got one tackle takes a lot of burden off because now, like I said, you've got Levinston, Jones coming back healthy, and Howard, and you've got three tackles who all have starting reps at right and left side, and all you got to do is get 2 of them to be ready to
Yep.
line up, plus whoever you draft. They've immediately made their tackle situation better from what it was a week ago.
Do you think that they will go after Kyle Murray with it being so cheap? And if they do, what does that say about your quarterback room?
It's so hard to say. If it were me, I would because I don't trust. I'm fine with the competition. I think the hope is that Sanders wins it. I don't think he showed anything last year. Everybody's listening knows that I didn't see anything last year that makes me believe he should come in and be given
What
that
do you mean?
job.
He beat Cincinnati.
He did win some trash games at the end of the year. And I just think like, if you have hopes for his development, great. If you think he earned the room, then you probably thought that before he ever played a game and you were gonna be convinced of that anyway. But
Yeah.
realistically, they have echoed my sentiment that he's gonna compete. I think it was almost said, like, I'll paraphrase, but it was almost specifically said, no one on this roster has shown anything in the last year good enough to guarantee them a franchise quarterback starting job. They'll have to compete. I guess the thing doesn't come down though to Gabriel, who I think is a backup, and Shador, who is going to be, I didn't expect it, but a little more boom or bust than I thought. The conflict for me comes down to, do you trust Watson to be the one guy to compete with that room, or do you feel like you can bring in somebody more reliable recently than Watson to compete with that room? Because you're finally to the point where if Watson doesn't work out, you just don't play him or whatever. But I think I've said it before, Murray, Tua, and probably even Gino, all 3 of them have had more success lately than any of the guys in our room over the last couple years. So if you aren't completely confident in Watson,
Yeah.
then I think you should chase someone. I just don't know if they will.
The biggest thing for me is they always carry 4 quarterbacks. They've carried 4 quarterbacks since Barry's been here, so they're
But
going to get an
one's
outside
usually like
guy.
a nobody,
Yeah, it's usually
like a Huntley
unrestricted,
or
undrafted free agent,
yeah.
somebody that they can get an extra camp on. But it would be interesting to see if they get a guy like Kyle Murray, Geno Smith, because then you're like, what does that not only mean for like Sanders, but even Gabriel? Like, is he competing? Is he competing for that third string? I mean,
Yeah.
I personally think they're going to bring in an outside guy. There's a lot of noise. They've been saying it, hinting. I agree with Jeffrey Champion on YouTube here. He says it sounds like every time they get in a question about a quarterback, they go to an outside option.
They always bring it
Maybe
up.
maybe that's just smoke.
Yeah,
They do
well, what's
that.
crazy, it's weird though because I don't know who they're fooling or why it would matter, like, if they're not gonna draft, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not sure it gains you much to say, like, we might pick up an outside quarterback, and other teams aren't gonna be like, "Oh, I'll overpay for Kyler Murray now." Like, you
Yeah.
can't, like, they're
Yeah.
not, "I'm gonna draft this guy earlier." Like, it doesn't really help you. If anything, you want them not to know you're gonna get an outside quarterback so they don't outbid you. And you almost wanna say, like, "We're totally happy with the room, we don't plan on getting anyone," so that you can secretly draft or, like, bring in a free agent others
Yeah.
didn't expect you to bid against. So, like, the fact that they unprompted every time they're asked about quarterbacks say, "Between what we have in the room and, like, looking
Outside
extensively
source. Yeah.
outside," we're going to get this covered. And
Because if
it's
they
just,
really believed in any one of those 2 or 3, they would say, "This is our guy."
even if they didn't, even if they
Yeah.
weren't positive, they would still probably be prone to say, we're
"Oh, we got
good.
3, we're good." Yeah.
Yeah, we're good. We got a good room.
Yeah, or
And
they
they
can
don't.
do what James Frank says here on, from Facebook, says, "Bring Kenny Pickett back." He wouldn't fit. I
You
don't
would
think he
love
fit
that.
Monken's system. Yeah, he wouldn't fit
Less
system with
now.
Monken.
Yeah,
Yeah,
less
yeah,
now.
less.
More as
Or
a, like,
Kevin, less of
quick
Powell.
read. Yeah, Kevin's, like, ideal system, like, I've said it a ton of times, I don't think we ever got to see Kevin's system once Baker left because I guess we saw it with Jacoby Brissett and that first year with, Jacoby
Mhm.
Brissett and,
It was
um,
Watson.
Watson,
Yeah,
but then the next year, they very much shifted what they had been doing for Watson, and then
and
the
said
next year,
they
they
went
brought
all
in
in.
somebody else to even more shift it, so, like, after 2022, I think we were done with the true Stefanski system, but I think we all knew in the background, he wants a guy to make a quick decision, deliver, and then on, like, a bootleg or play action, that's when he would take a
That's the play
downfield
action, yeah.
shot, right? That's when you take your downfield shot. That is that ideal kinda Stefanski system, I think, and Kenny Pickett, we both got excited last
Yeah,
year because 'cause we're like, I think
because
that's
the
the one thing he
system,
might be able
yeah,
to do.
that's the only thing he was able to do. But
Yeah,
now
that's,
and
like, the one thing he might be good at.
Todd wants explosive plays. That's not gonna happen with Kenny Pickett. You know who it
Todd's
can
gonna play a
happen
lot
with,
more
though?
like, Pittsburgh wanted Pittsburgh screwed up with Kenny by that's the offense they tried to play with him, and it was never gonna happen.
Never gonna happen, yep.
So,
The quarterback I am interested in, no one's talking about, if you wanna know, like, my Kenny Pickett might be this year, is Will Levis. He
okay,
didn't get
now you're
enough
talking.
development in
Now you're
Tennessee.
talking.
He's got an arm, and he's mobile. That fits the
A
Todd
second
Monken.
rounder a
Second
second
rounder,
rounder that got pulled into the
push.
first round similarly to
And it
Pickett,
was it was the
is my
whole
opinion,
Vrabel thing
right?
because Vrabel didn't wanna draft another quarterback. They forced him. They picked him over Vrabel, and he got
It's
totally
really funny because that's
screwed.
a guy I mentioned last year, and I had almost completely forgotten about him till you said him. Last year, I had said, "Next year, he might be your reclamation project, your Daniel Jones," because he was picked in the first round, so obviously, even if he wasn't a true, like, top talent, he was good enough talent to get into the first round, which means something, and then he went to a terrible team,
Situation,
which
yeah.
only got worse. Then he was kinda moved on from too soon before he got developed. He was definitely a developmental guy. He very much shadows to me Daniel Jones. It's
Yeah.
just I don't know if the accuracy is there, but
That's
was
someone
that
I'd be
because
interested.
he was too rushed and didn't know where to go with the ball, or can he just not throw? But I
When
think that's
I
a really interesting one to bring
Yeah.
up because that is a cheap, like, retread that you can bring into the room and have compete, and if he even if he doesn't start for you, he could carve out some role. I think that's a really interesting one.
Yep. Jeffrey said Stetton Bennett. That's a good option. We can
I
go
mean, he
talk about
played with
quarterbacks today. He
Monk.
did play with Monken, and actually
Yep.
was successful in Georgia, brought the best out
And
of
by the
him.
way, that's a reminder that Munkin's not just looking for he's not just capable of being successful with Lamar Jackson's leg or with somebody with a rocket arm. He it was college, but he went to a national championship with Stetson Bennett. He can figure out how to
How to
play
work with him.
different
Yeah.
football, which is why me and Mike had a conversation where he's like, "What's Todd Monken's system?" And I'm like, "I don't know because
Anything.
whatever it was with Lamar is not what it's going to be in
Yeah,
Cleveland.
it's
You
not. Yeah,
don't have that guy."
he said it himself. He said, "I adjusted a player, so they're gonna fit around." And that's
Yeah,
why he also said, "I need my quarterback pick before. We're not gonna do this whole camp competition because he wants his
yeah.
quarterback pick
He's
before
got to
then,
set up the
so he
offense.
can implement his offense."
Yep.
Last thing on Will Levis, James Frank says only psychopaths put mayos in their coffee. I agree. I drink my coffee black. I don't put nothing in it. Uh,
That's so gross.
one more, yeah, mayo. That's
That's
weird.
so
I guess it's
gross.
good. Like it's high fat, so I guess
I mean,
from
I've tried those bulletproof butter coffees. I don't think that's very good either, but like mayo, ugh,
yeah.
gross.
One last thing with the Browns news, we got off on quarterback tangent. 80-foot dig deep dive on March 2nd. Yesterday, the Browns officially began a mass excavation at the Brook Park site for the Huntington Bank Field, digging an 80-foot deep hole so the stadium can be cleared by airport flights. So it begins. They've cleared a hole. They're gonna dig deep. It's going in the ground, folks. Hopefully, there's no
Right.
water leaks because if there's a water leak, they
It's a
get in trouble.
very interesting plan they have
It's
because of
gonna be
the airport
cooler.
traffic to build it down.
Yes.
It'll be cooler, it'll also probably be warmer in the winter.
Yep.
Um, it's covered, but it's also gonna be easily insulated. But that is kind of how SoFi Stadium in LA is, which I've been to a couple times. It's an open dome, but when you get into it, you're actually at a middle level and you can go up, but you can also go down when you
Yeah,
get
that's
in the
how they
stadium,
say
which
they
was
built it.
really weird.
Yeah, they say it's built to where even if you're high, you feel like you're on the field still.
Yeah, it's very steep, but you
Yeah.
definitely like go in and then go like down to your seats. And that's such a it's cool. I hope it's just cool when Cleveland's is done, but it
Yeah.
is a very unique style, and I think they had to because of the planes and everything, but
Yeah. Yeah.
also probably less problems with the snow and some of the weather if they're lower, less wind.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. The
you know,
glass also is there's something up. It's slanted, so
it's
when it
slanted,
snows, it comes
heavy.
straight down. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
and that's what I
it's not
mean,
a
like,
rust on it.
obviously, the wind isn't gonna affect the players in the field in a dome, but, like, you just don't want it beating against your stadium. You don't want you know what I mean? So it's like, it just feels like it being a little lower will probably be good for, like, the whole structure. This one has gotta last a while. It's gonna be what?
Yeah,
It's billions of dollars. So,
it's got to last them at least 30 years
yeah,
before
so
they decide to have
I
another
think
one.
this is all designed in a way it's not my favorite look, to be honest, from, like, the outside, that kinda squared look,
Yeah, it
but I
looks like
can
a bar.
see where from the inside it might be really, really cool.
Yeah. That's enough with the Browns news and NFL news. We're going to go on to what everyone's here for, the combine talk. We're here for combine talk. We want to talk about who impressed us, who didn't, who shocked us, and most importantly, who actually helped their stock a little bit. We're going to first start with the consensus top positions, pass rusher and wide receiver for depth. Anything top level. Tight end. Let's talk about the tight end. Shattered. Oregon's Keenan Shaqui. Shaqui. Hope I'm saying that. Ran
You
a
asking me?
four. Yeah. Yeah. Two people that don't know how to say last names. It's hard for me. I don't know if you guys noticed. I had often
I'm
said
pretty good, but I have trouble I can usually pronounce them if they're there, but I have trouble just remembering them.
I have problems with both. He ran a 4.39 in the 40-yard dash, officially breaking Vernon Davis' 20-year-old record for the tight
Wow.
end group. Uh,
I mean,
well,
that is
he's
fast as
going
heck for
high
a
in the
guy that's
first
big.
round.
Yeah, and I think he
I
was anyway, but, like,
Yeah,
it it people talked about and we'll get to it as we go through this, people talked about this was one of the most athletic combines ever, and we'll see some of these numbers that you shoot through, but that's a long record, man. Vernon Davis, like, Kyle Pitts couldn't break it, like, that is a for a guy the size of a tight end, like, incredible to see that kind of speed.
yeah. So a lot of people are like the Browns should get him, and I'm thinking, well, I mean, that'd be great. But the problem is, you have that kind of tight end that can catch with
Yeah,
Fannin. Me, I want a pass blocker. I think we've talked about that before. I want a tight end that can catch secondary, but a pass blocker first would be.
which
But yeah,
I
he
expect we've talked about a little bit, I actually expect that in free agency, we'll get to that section a little later. Um, I don't think I would count out them drafting a tight end, but you're very unlikely to draft a tight end high enough to be your starter this year, and so I might have my eyes on, if you guys are looking out there at tight ends, it might be worth looking at who's a
yeah
guy that could be a sleeper in the 5th round is a much more likely scenario than, who could we get in the 1st or 2nd round to
yeah
complement Fannin? That's just not how you build a
yeah
team. And you have to get to the point where like the Browns are picking 24th and they had Sadiq at 11th and he's still on the board and now he's just
that
too good to
yeah
pass up. And,
yeah.
like, that
That's
is
when you
that
got
scenario, that Shador Sanders scenario where, like, we didn't even wanna draft him, and, like, now he's too valuable. There's no way we can say no, but otherwise, I don't think you guys should have your heart set on any tight ends. I think they have made their choice with what they got out of Harold Fan.
Yeah, and that's a good choice. I'm trying to see how heavy Sadiq is. don't have his weight.
No, he's
245,
not a small
6'3".
kid though. Yeah, that's like a linebacker.
45. Because
That's
Jeffrey
a
said
good
maybe he
sized
can line
kid.
up as an X receiver.
So here's the thing, I don't think
That would
he'll be
be
an X receiver, but I
yeah,
could see him being a tight end that starts running receiver routes that slots up
and that's more
and
dangerous
really run routes.
than lining him up on the outside
It
because you
can
can
be.
mismatch him all day.
Yeah, tough to get a
Yeah,
linebacker to keep up with him, tough to get a safety to keep up with him, tough to get a cornerback to be able to get their hands on him. So, yeah, he's gonna be a pretty dangerous weapon for somebody. The thing is, though, let's not get over the top with, like, yeah, he's crazy fast.
can
He's
he
faster
catch?
than half the receivers in this draft, but, um, he's still gotta make cuts, run routes. Can he do all of the things that these receivers have been spending years of high school and college doing? Maybe not yet. Maybe he's I mean, that is the size of an X receiver.
Yeah,
I just don't know if that's his role. And almost like then you kind of take him out of like what he might be the most dangerous as a mismatch. If you
mismatch.
line him up at X and then a like 6'4", 200-pound corner, we have Campbell or whatever line up on him, like maybe you don't get the great mismatch you were hoping to get because now you've kind of taken him out of his element and he's
Yep.
only a okay receiver when he could be an electric tight end.
Yeah, Oscar Delp, who James Frank just said on Facebook there, that's the guy I would like for them to get. He can catch and he's a good blocker. And obviously he has ties with Monken, so that would help.
Yeah.
Somebody that helped his draft stock tremendously was the offensive tackle Monroe Freeling.
Hmm.
9.99 RAS score. For those that don't know, RAS score is relative athletic score, meaning they measure your athletics based upon 1 in 10. And he, as a offensive left tackle, offensive lineman, left tackle even better. 9.9 is great. That tells me that your left tackle can keep up with a edge rusher like Myles Garrett. Probably, because Myles Garrett's on a different level, but it shows that he can move. He's got fast feet. His hands are good. His hands are moves. He's got the whole lineman shuffle going on properly. His
Yeah.
40-yard dash was 4.93, 315 pounds. Give him the second highest relative athletic score for a tackle since 1987. Now, a lot of people are saying, "Holy crap, this guy's going to rise up." But I read an article today that said, "Guys, the scouts already knew about this kid, and if you had him any lower
Right.
than top 15, then you were shocked, but the scouts
Yeah.
weren't. They kind of expected this out of him."
And you do see when I hear from like these scouts like who have already put in a lot of work, when you hear from them, a lot of times they say, I go to the combine for like three reasons. One, to get an actual visual look at these guys against their peers, because you don't always see them in equal situations. Two is to talk about to hear like the feedback from the interviews and from the other actual scouts who have been, these guys like Todd McShay, they admittedly, Mel Kiper, and you name it, Dane Brugler, dude, they got to cover 400 kids and narrow it down to like 250 draftable
Yeah.
kids, and their chance to watch, highlight reels or pick out one game from somebody as they get to guys with like relatively, generally accepted first round games. Maybe they get a chance to watch two or three games for these guys. These scouts may have watched every game they played, right? So they like to go these places to hear what they have to say. The third thing I hear all the time is it's really hard to tell on tape. Is this guy as physical as like he doesn't look explosive on tape, or he does, but his size is interesting. Something doesn't line up, and they want to see these athletic scores match to what they have been projecting or figure out, where this would help them fall. So I'm sure there are people that were like, I don't know, I think he's got like a borderline first round grade unless he shows up so athletic that we believe he's a better prospect to build. And that's the kind of organic rise you'll actually see. The rise for the rest of us is I've just never really heard of him.
Yep,
And now
that's what
I
I think too.
have. And so, but this guy is not one of those guys. This would be if he rises, it's more like, oh, I had him like around 30 and now I'm putting him at 21 because
Yeah.
I see his future as brighter. For most of us, it's like, I never really heard of this kid. Then he ran a 4.3 and now he's rising up boards because the people grading just hadn't got to him. And now they're like, now I have to pay attention to him and look at his film more because he's so fast, so that's like the fake rise of like we didn't know, or even like the team media guys don't know, but the
Yeah.
scouts probably did. And then there's a real rise, which I think Monroe probably had a real rise, but not like it was not a nowhere. I've already been hearing him as like a target for the pick at 24. Now the problem is, would he make it that
Make it
far?
there. Yeah.
Because teams are going to go, well, if we were going to pick him 30th, now that we see he's the most like athletic guy in the draft,
We meant to get
should
him.
we take him early? Right.
Detroit
And
would be one of them. I think they got let go of one of their tackles
yeah.
this past week, so I'd be interested in that. The fastest man in Indy, Mississippi State wide receiver Brendan Thompson took the crown for the week with a 4.26 40-yard dash, just narrowing being out Buckeyes' own Lorenzo Styles Jr. for the top spots. I'm sure some teams looked at him and thought, I can use him. Got a
Mhm.
4.26. That's
Those kind of
fast.
guys become, I know he bombed for us, so people hate this comparison. Those kind of guys become your Anthony Schwartz, where teams like,
Yeah.
we've got an X receiver. We like who we have, at our who's lining up in the slot, but we just don't have anybody on the team that can take the top off the defense, and we think that opens up the run game. They pick that out of that's a need pick to me, is
Yeah.
where you're like, this one guy changes our offense overall because he's so fast, and they add that. That's a Travis Benjamin of it. That's the Tyquan Thornton. Every year you see one of those guys, like I said, Anthony Schwartz, it was just like, he's so darn fast. I'm going to add him.
Let's see
And
what
if
he
he
can do.
works, yeah, if he works, then great. I think Isaiah Bond kind of fell into that role with the Browns last year. He's not quite that same level of like pure fast, but it was like, we need somebody who can get down the field behind defenders and get the defense to give us some respect there. The problem is we didn't seem to have the quarterbacks who could get it down there anyway, so it didn't work.
Yeah, it didn't
But if we
help.
did have it down, if it was a Jameis year, I could have seen Isaiah Bond being even more effective because teams are going to be scared if he gets behind you, he's going, so they'll line up farther.
Yeah,
So
Jeffrey on YouTube said Tate's 40 time was disappointing. Now, there's a story coming out
sure.
that though he clocked at 4.52. Adam Scheffler reported that there were several NFL executives and GMs on Saturday said his 40 time really was 4.5, 4.47. Now, whether that was his agent saying, "Hey, just to let you know,
Yeah, the teams always do their
yeah,
own
the
clocking
team.
too,
I know this
and
is
I've
coming
heard
as
that
four
before.
five, but this is a 4. He's a 4.5 guy,
All I
4.3
would tell
guy.
people is 2 things. 1, you shouldn't have expected him to be a burner. He's not that
He's not.
guy. It's the reason people are like, "Do you really take this guy at 6? He's the best guy in the draft." But when you take somebody at 6, you want him to be Julio Jones or AJ Green or Megatron. Like, you want a superstar potential
Yeah,
guy. You don't want a Emeka Mbuka, who's awesome and definitely a first rounder, but not a superstar carry your team receiver. I think he's graded a little higher than that, but this my second point would be wait for pro day.
yeah,
I
pro day.
guarantee he's gonna end up he's gonna somehow he's gonna know that that was a weakness. He's gonna have his pro day in a month. He's gonna spend all month working on how can I get a half second faster, and he's gonna run a 4.49 in his pro day, and people are gonna be like, he's fine, or even just a 4.5 flat, and people are
Yeah,
gonna be like, okay, we
he's
worried for
good.
nothing.
He's
He's
good.
fast enough.
Yeah.
Watch
James,
the film, guys. I don't
yeah.
care what his 40 was. The kid can play football.
I I had my doubts about Tate because everything about him doesn't scream top 10.
Right. That's
To
my doubt
me,
too.
to
I
me,
like him. He's number 1, but he's number 1 in a class that doesn't
they
have
have
elite elite top end. He's just
maybe
the
Tyson, and
best.
what hurts Tyson is his injury issues, right? So I think if Tyson didn't have any knee issues, any injuries, he would be the top guy because he's athletic. He can go up and
And
grab the ball, whatever.
some scouting only, some pure scouting sites, like I wouldn't be shocked if somewhere like our lads has him up there.
Yeah,
Walter
but
Football, the ones who are like, we don't care what you say, we're doing our own grades. You don't see that out a lot out of like you don't see a huge variation, like little things like moved up 1 or 2 spots out of like and this isn't to insult them. Like I said, big job. They've got a great hundreds of kids, but like when I look at like Bucky Brooks, Daniel Jeremiah, Mel Kiper, even Dane Brugler, who's somebody I really like, you don't see a ton of variability in
Yeah.
there. You might see it in their total board. You don't usually see it like they probably have the same 5 receivers in order or close, all done. It's the
Yeah.
ones you look off that might have like our lads, Walter Football, who might be like, I don't care what everybody says. This is my top guy.
Yeah. The Tate thing, I looked into a little more today, and he's not in the top 15 as far as man coverage or even zone coverage. But what I found out today, what makes him very interesting is the fact that, and I wrote it down today because I knew that it would be something that we may casually bring up, that his grade on 20 yards or more was 9.9, 99.9 PFF score, like on 20
Wow.
yards or more. So I didn't realize how much of a deep threat he was. And maybe to the fault, even
Not that
I live
bad.
in Ohio, I'm a Buckeye guy. I should be watching him. Maybe I was looking at him as a shade through the shade of Jeremiah Smith's eyes. Like, well, it's because of Jeremiah Smith. But
Yeah.
even though he's not fast, even though if he does run a 4.5, he's getting open 20 yards downfield
Yeah.
to where he was in the top 10 as far as receivers
Yeah. The
getting the
kids can
ball.
play
And
football.
he did not drop a ball. He had 53 passes thrown to him and he caught every single one. So you don't have to be, you can be a 4.5 guy. If you're a 4.2, 3 guy and you dropping balls like Anthony Schwartz, what does that matter? If you're getting open downfield, 20 yards and creating explosive plays,
Yeah.
whether it's tricking, whether it's route running, and you're getting open or contesting catching, doesn't matter. You can be a 4 or 5 guy or you want, just catch the freaking ball.
While we're on it, before we move on, do you wanna hit that your quarterback, like, your wide receiver little depth thing
Oh
before
yeah,
we
yeah.
move to a different
So
topic? It kinda fits here.
the top three, I specifically looked this up because when you listen to Andrew Barry and when you listen to Todd Monken, they always say the word explosive plays, explosive plays, explosive plays. We need explosive plays. So to me, I'm like, out of the explosive play receivers coming out, which ones were the best? And most of these, believe it or not, outside of one, maybe two, you probably get in the later rounds. Skylar Bell was ranked number one, UConn, 28 explosive gains, tied for third in college football, 8.2 yards after catch. Eric McAllister, TCU, 69 career gains of 15 plus yards. Yards per catch last year, 16 and a half. It's pretty good. KC, someone brought up, I think it was somebody on YouTube, brought up KC Concepcion. Now I know how to say his name because I got that Puerto Rican in me. Okay. So KC Concepcion had 26 gains of 15 yards or more last year and a total of 25 touchdowns. And then the last guy, Zach Branch from Georgia, 20 explosive gains last year, 78 yards, 78% of his yards was after the catch. So when I think of explosive plays and I see, and I'm watching those receivers and Casey Concepcion, if you go to summer sports and you look at his route running, his route tree is like, it's a Bible. His route tree is probably the biggest out of
Yeah.
everyone in this draft. But the issue with KC Concepcion for me is he's small. Now
Mhm.
that's me being small biased, like me being size rate prejudiced, right?
It's
Like
just
we have
about
enough
when
of those
does it
small guys.
matter? Like,
Yeah,
it's sort of about when we matter because I think we have an okay sized receivers, but if you're looking somebody to come in and be like a wide receiver 1 or 2, that does give you a little bit of pause. For
yeah,
me, a lot of times size can matter in the way that if you got 2 guys who have very similar game, it would be nice to get the one that was a bigger size. But every once in a while, there's a kid that's just so talented, like you overlook it,
yeah,
and it's just hard to pick that out.
yeah, yeah. So those are your three explosive plays. So if they Browns draft them, you best believe they're going to use them for explosive
Yep.
plays.
I think that was a relevant thing to look up too because, like, it's what they need. What they need is somebody who can, like, break a play open. They don't,
Now, I know a lot of people's like, well, they got Bond, but if you add Casey Concepcion, not only do you get a burner, but you get a guy that can actually run routes. So that adds an element to your weaponizing on offense. It's like Bond right now maybe he's just a straight shooter. Like you just run. You're the fastest guy. You ran track, go. Casey Concepcion can burn you and also act like he's burning you, but cut
yeah.
you and then burn you that way. So that's what intrigues me about Casey Concepcion. And he could be there at 24. And by the way, if you want to talk about percentages, pick number 24 has a high percentage hit rate. Aaron Rodgers, Ed Reed. Those are some people that were picked at 24. So the Browns hold a very good, valuable 24 pick. So we'll see what they do there. On to the next topic, the quarterbacks that made the leap, possibly. First one is Ty Simpson. That's the guy talking about right now because he's been Todd McShay's fault, really, because he said the Browns should take. He doesn't want the Browns to take him because he doesn't want the Browns to ruin him. But he said the Browns can take him at 6. At 6.
It feels a lot like last year when they were like, the Browns should just take Jackson Dart or Shador Sanders at 2 and just
Yes.
get it over with. When in reality, you're like, probably not. They
Mason
probably
Graham.
don't. They probably don't see. They probably don't see themselves in a position to be like, it's
We can't
all or
risk
nothing
him.
at quarterback. We got to take the risk because of the room they have currently. I said they weren't impressive last year, but you really gotta have to have a guy that blows you away if you're taking him, because if you take him that high, you're taking him to start, and, that's hard for me to believe. But I have never backed off the train of, like,
He's
the Browns
interesting, man.
could take another quarterback in this draft, him being the one that I
Yeah.
kind of relate to the most, because if they believe he can be a starter, then that's too valuable of a thing not to have. But
And then you can bury him, say, hey, we got Watson and Shador battling it out. He is interesting to me because a lot of people have amnesia when it comes to his career. I know he has only played a handful of games, 15, 16 games,
yeah,
but he played a heck of a 10, 11 game stretch where he was competing for a Heisman. And an
yeah,
injury, we talked
he
about it
was
last week,
awesome.
an injury derailed him a little bit. He's interesting in that aspect. Now, I wouldn't take a chance on him because I think we have too many needs
Yeah.
to do that. But I'm hoping because I kind of like the kid that he goes to the Rams and have a
Yeah.
successful career because
I
he
kind
will
of
have.
agree. I kind of agree. He would be better to go somewhere where he's got so little experience, even though he's not young. I mean, he's been there for years. Not like he's the Sam Darnold, like, I just turned 20 before the draft, like, guy, but he just feels like he would be best served to go somewhere where he's almost forced to sit for most of the year to the year behind an incumbent, and I'm with you, like, I find that to be a terrifying pick. As
Yeah.
somebody that's so, like, logical and also, like, analytical naturally, like, seeing the lack of success and the amount of attempts at picking a guy who's had, you know, less than 18 starts in the NFL, it's just too eye-opening not to count. But the reason I brought him up on last week's show is teams don't always think that way because it keeps happening on repeat. Every year, there's somebody who's barely started in the NFL who gets picked higher than he should because they think this could be that exception. The problem is
Yep.
I don't see the Browns making that move at 6. What will be interesting to me is if he falls to a Jackson Dart position where it's later. The difference between him is Dart has just crazy arm talent and is physically just really gifted runner. He's not. He's more of a like stereotypical style quarterback. And so you're not drafting him for athletic upside. You're drafting him because what you believe is the first portion of that season is the real him. A lot of teams, though, are going to have the question of did he fade off because of an injury or did he fade off because he got figured out
Hmm.
and too easily? And we're not going to fall for that. And that's how a guy, you know, you get a guy a little bit later.
Like KP Young says, you get an Anthony Richardson.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah,
True, and
that's a
Anthony
risk.
they paid way too much for him, but again,
Yep,
they drafted that's a guy a lot of
they
times
draft.
these guys like Mitch Trubisky, Richardson, they draft because athletically they're just incredible, and they're like, "If I can turn him into a quarterback, that's great." The problem is almost every single time that happens in the first round, like Jalen Milroe, did you hear a peep from him this year? Nope,
Mhm.
he was that guy, but he luckily for himself and for that team, got drafted in the 3rd round, and the guy above him is a starting NFL franchise quarterback. There was not even a question that he would ever touch the field this year, and that's what somebody like that needs. The problem is
Yeah,
if you pick him in the 1st round, he's likely to start your season, if not
yes.
5, 6
There's gonna be
games
pressure
in.
there. Yeah, for sure.
Right, and that's where these guys, I think, go wrong. I don't think it's they didn't have enough experience, so they auto fail. I think they don't have enough experience, which means they need to be developmental, and when you pick them in the 1st round, nobody wants to let them develop. Nobody wants to do the Patrick Mahomes thing where he sits a full season, the Aaron Rodgers thing, like, some teams aren't in that position. The GM's gonna get fired, he's gonna throw that guy in. So, that's where those guys, I think, constantly fail. So it'd be a nervous pick for me because just like they put Sanders in early, just like they put Gabriel in early, like I just
Yeah,
believe they'll put
and
this guy in early.
most likely they will put him in early. On to the next one. We're gonna segue right. James Frank says, "I think Drew Eller or LR, depending on how you say it, is
I've been
more
hearing
on
Alar for the
me."
first time ever this offseason.
That's what I was talking to Mike about this on the phone, I think a couple of
I
days
just
ago.
started hearing Alar and I was like, "You just
LR.
corrected somebody because I've
Yes.
always
Somebody
heard
I'm
Drew
like,
Aller."
I always heard LR. Now people are saying LR, depending on where you hear it from, probably those PA people. LR is more on darts level than Simpson. And we're good. That's gonna segue. Drew Eller, LR, reports people were impressed by his measurables and arms, but what they were not impressed with was his footwork. So that is something that he probably get dinged on because
Yeah.
he's had footwork issues the whole time he was in Pencil and
Yep.
at Penn State. Now, would that be obviously that's a coaching issue, a development
Right.
issue. So
That's a coachable
you
thing.
shouldn't put that all on him. It is a coachable thing. So if there's a quarterback in the later rounds that I would be interested in, it would be my guy from Medina because I live about 10 minutes from there. So I'm a little biased, but I hope I hope he's there because I would probably risk it for him a little bit. Get your footwork. You can Todd Monk is a quarterback whisperer, man. He could get those feet
Yeah.
right.
It's just
About you,
it's so crazy to me to see his name so
LR.
far down the
Yes,
list when people were like, "Oh man, the Browns should be looking at him in the
last
1st round."
year.
Like last year, he's a lock to go in the top 10 and then, oh. But I said we make that decision every year. We say next year's draft class is great based on the assumption that these guys look pretty good and should take another step. And then 2/3 of them don't every single year.
Yep.
It should Carson Beck should have been a 1st rounder. Drew Lar should have been a 1st rounder. Shador Sanders should have been a 1st rounder. Like you can go on and on. Nussmeyer should have been a 1st rounder. Next
I
year it's going to
could.
be,
Yeah.
what happens if next year what's Lenora Sellers. What happens next year if he has a really bad season this year? He was supposed to be in the 1st round this year, so next year he should be automatically, and he just might not be. Like, these young guys, the longer you see them play, the more you might expose them to the fact that they're not a 1st round NFL
Or not.
quarterback.
That's why Ty Simpson was like, "Yeah, I'm going to NFL. I don't want to
Yeah.
do another year and get exposed."
I have to wonder if part of the reason and that's what gives me pause is like, why didn't you play one more season? You could have made $4 million playing in college. Like, why didn't you go show it one more time? And then it makes you immediately think the same thing you think when everybody skips the combine drills or
Yep.
don't take an invite to the Shrine Game or Senior Bowl. Like, what are you hiding? Like, so maybe it doesn't mean he's not going to be good, but it immediately gives you pause of like, why aren't you showing everything you can show?
Yeah.
So
Before we get into the receiver part, KP said something about Carson Beck 2nd round question mark. That's another guy that I'm pretty. It's crazy. They're going to be him, Nussmeyer, that guy from Clemson, Kubek, forgot his name. All those guys are projected to go high, and now they're all probably 2nd, 3rd, 4th round picks this year. So for me, it's like it stinks that you're the Browns and you're in the situation where you're in, where you picked 2 last year. So how can you justify picking someone even if it's late this year? Because now you're gonna have
And but
2
fans
second.
will get on board immediately because they'll be like, "Oh, you picked Drew Allar, so we can cut
We
Dylan
can cut
Gabriel."
or
Yeah, fans
Shador.
are gonna be okay
Yeah.
with it. The
But
reality,
me,
though, is I'm
logically,
not
I'm
sure
thinking
these
like, that's
guys
just
are.
another wasted pick because you could have draft something either need or, for my opinion, later rounds, you draft best player available.
I feel
Um,
almost the same way I felt last year. If you're not picking a guy that you believe is a franchise quarterback, when
it's a
you
wasted
don't
pick.
have one, don't bother. And
Um,
it like I was okay with it last year because we were waiting. I mean, we are in a little different Deshaun situation, and we also didn't have any backups, and we had no young quarterback. So it was like, okay, you're bringing in somebody to be a backup, fine. Like I thought it was a round too early at least, but I was like fine with Gabriel. I was excited about Sanders because that seemed like a steal, but it more feels like, I guess the
mm,
best way to say is story after the first round last year ended. I got into some conversations on X with like fans that we talk all the time about like these analyses, and they said, "What quarterback do you think the Browns are going to take in the second round?" And I basically said, if the Browns thought a quarterback was good enough to start for this team, they should have traded back into the first round or taken him in the first round. The fact that they didn't makes me think they're going to take no quarterback in the second round because they clearly don't have a guy they think is a starter, or they would have already taken him. And it just was very much like, that's kinda how I feel about this draft from the start. If they don't take somebody in the first round,
don't draft
then
them.
they don't think there's somebody in this draft that's a franchise quarterback, in which case, skip. Keep building the team.
Yeah, you have so many needs. You cannot get another quarterback. That
And
would
they've got a
be
ton of picks.
insane.
Like,
Insane.
but, like, it just feels like you pick somebody in the 5th round, like, the chance of him being a starter is, like, 1 in 90. It's just like, it's not. Yeah, I'm to that point though to start, like, same thing. It's like, I guess I won't be sad if they take Carson Peck or Drew Allar, but if they don't go in the first round, I'm gonna say the same thing I also always say. They're probably not a starter or they would have went earlier.
Yeah.
And
I
now
mean,
these
unless you
guys are
get
not
super
20.
lucky.
Well, they're
Unless you
not
get
21
super
anymore. They're
yeah.
23, they're 24 because 'cause they've stayed in college for a
Yeah.
while.
Yeah. I mean,
So,
it's crazy. We'll see what they do.
yeah,
I don't yeah, we'll see. I think they're
I
gonna
won't be
go
mad
free
about it, but
agency.
I'll just think about it like, "Oh, that was a weird pick because he's
Mm,
probably not good enough."
Not gonna play. He's not gonna play in 3 years.
Yeah.
Wide receiver in the combine that helped their stock. Pick one. I'll go first because you probably picked one of the guys I
I
did.
picked 2, yeah, because I
Yeah.
wasn't sure which one you were gonna pick.
Cooper, Omar Cooper Jr. for me raised his stock even more.
Okay.
4.24, 4.42, sorry, 40-yard dash, 1.55 seconds in the split, 37-inch vertical, that 40 time, solid speed. He's got hands. He knows how to make cut routes. Um, for me, overall, his workout was great, straight line speed. He looked smooth in the drills, showing off his hands, which is what we need as a receiver. So I thought he raised his stock a little bit. Now, on the record, I agree with Sam. Sam put in a chat before. I like Denzel Boston more than Cooper. So if he's there at 4, I'd rather have Denzel Boston. He is number 1 in college football last year against man coverage. So I think if you can know how to play man pretty well, and you should be able to play uh, football. I mean, in the NFL
Like,
pretty well. So I think Omar Cooper helped his stock. How about you?
the guy that I put down as helping his stock was, Jeremy Bernard from Alabama, and that's Germie.
Yeah,
And the reason I picked him is because he is one of the guys, like we just talked about, who was already kind of on the radar. He wasn't a nobody, but I think there were some questions on, like, his physical ability. Um, but I think not only did he run like a good 40, a 4.48 40, so an under 4.5 40, for his size is good. He had the best 3 cone drill, which is a really important thing for receivers because they like to see that they're able to get in and out of cuts really fast.
Yeah.
He's already a good route runner, but I think the big thing with him was people were thinking like maybe he'll be a like third or fourth rounder, and now I'm hearing like he might have worked his way into like the first half of the second round because
Mm.
his only real question was like, does he have good enough athletic measures? And then he came out and did really well there. So I have him actually as my riser, and it's not the craziest rise. Like I said, some people thought he could go as early as the third round, but now I'm seeing him as like a top of the second round potential guy. So we'll see if that was it. He also, if I'm not mistaken, I think he was a guy that like really did well in the catching drills and showed like really good route running, but caught all of his balls, even some difficult ones. So that was one of the two that I had on my risers.
Who's your second one?
Jeff Caldwell, and that was 100%. He ran one of the fastest 40s. It was a 4.3 40, and I think that just like we talked about in that last segment, teams see that and they're like, honestly, I don't even care if he can catch. We'll hope
Just,
we'll hope we can we'll hope
we'll
we can
throw it,
coach him.
just throw it, go down there. We'll throw it to you.
Yes, we'll teach him to catch a bucket over his head, and we'll literally just start letting him run go balls. So a guy that like I think was like
They need to put on some Jerry Judy
probably at
tape
the
to see if it.
bottom. He's like a day 3, like probably a guy I would have said like, I wonder if the Browns take a flyer in the 5th round. I just don't believe he'll be there anymore. So I called him a riser just based on like I think he got too many people's attention. And he's huge. He's 6'5", 210 pounds. He's a big kid. And, like, when
That's a
you
good
have that
size, man.
size yeah. When you have that size and you're a red zone threat,
And you're
just being
fat.
able to jump up and get it, and you show that kind of speed, like and he's a Cincinnati kid, so, like, he's a guy that I was gonna say down the line, like, we've got all these 5th rounders, I hope we grab them, and now I'm like, "Dude, this kid's
No,
going in the
okay,
3rd or
ain't
4th
gonna happen
round."
now.
They're gonna
Dang
see
it.
them some offensive guys just gonna drool at, like, "Wait, that huge kid can run past every cornerback like he's gonna face, like, let's go."
Yeah,
So,
that's a good pick. That was a good one. On to our guy that hurt their stock. I didn't. Maybe I expected too much, or maybe this is my fault. But Mackay Fields from Notre Dame. He ran a
oh, yeah,
4.61. Very slow.
it was the slowest
Slowest.
receiver, I think, in the
Yeah.
combine.
I mean, he's a big guy, but I thought he would at least run a
Dude,
4.5
you just
high.
can't be out of the 4.5s. I just
Yeah.
in today's day and age, like, people make too much of the 40. There's a ton of guys who run a 4.5 40 who are very good NFL wide receivers, but I'm 100% with you. If you fall out of 4.5, guys are just gonna go, "Somebody else can do this job."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so and it's crazy because he knows he's got good hands, and I thought, man, if he can run a pretty good route, good speed, he's big too. So he's like a maybe he could be. I thought he'd be a burner, but yeah, no, yeah, he kind of was like, oh crap, he's not. He's a 5th round. He's dropping to the 5th.
Like, he
So
was another guy, I thought he was a day 2 pick, and now I'm like, I don't know what that he's the exact same story I gave you, but way more dramatic with, um, Tate. He has to spend the next month
getting fast.
getting ready for the pro day, and I don't care what he does drill-wise, he needs to go out there, run a 4.55 40, and let scouts go,
Okay.
"Oh, okay, we're alright." You
Yeah,
know?
because
I'm
if he
surprised
can
it wasn't
get,
immediately
yeah,
leaked that he pulled his hamstring or something.
yeah, I would have been like, dude, just
I
lie
thought
and
that'd
say
be
it's
an
from
I would
hamstring.
immediately gone across the
I
thing
got
and
turf
grabbed my
toe.
butt. Yeah, I would
I
have
got
grabbed my
turf toe.
butt, so people would have been like, "Oh, did he tweak something a little bit?"
Yeah, I did. I
But,
promise you. Let's go. I'm
no,
done.
so that was one of my followers because, like, that just seemed like an obvious pick. Like, the kid was supposed to run a 4.5 40, he ran a 4.6 something.
Yeah.
It's just not gonna fly. So and he's a
It's 4
very, like
6. And
yeah,
he's got hands though. The thing is like the dude can catch. Like fix your 40 speed and that probably
yeah.
will make you up. It's not the end all be all for you because once
And
you
again,
don't
pure
forget.
scouts are gonna
Yeah.
say, "I know what I saw on film. He can play when he puts the pads on, he doesn't slow down like another guy." You know, have you ever heard that terminology? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, these 2 guys run 40s, one runs a 4.5, the other one runs a 4.4, but the one that ran a 4.4 is 5'11", 179 pounds. When he puts all his padding on, it slows him down. When this guy that's 6'3", 215, puts his padding on, it's nothing. He doesn't slow down at all, so they end up having around the same game speed, and it'd be great for Malachi Fields if he pulls that off, but, like, right now, that doesn't look good when you're running in your underwear and you can't
Can't
hit
even a
speeds.
4.59.
You're gonna
Get him
hate you're
even.
gonna hate my second one. You're gonna hate my second one. I
Who's that?
actually put Denzel Boston as a
Really?
guy that I
Oh,
think
because
is
he didn't do
taller.
his 40.
Yeah,
He
and that's
didn't run
not
his
the only
40.
reason. He didn't do his 40, and he dropped a couple of balls in drills, and
He
that
did.
makes me nervous because the description I had from him before the draft was, he's a late first rounder. He can't catch well, which he needs to fix. He doesn't do contested catches well, and he's gonna struggle in the NFL with the type of coverage he gets, but he does everything else pretty well, so he'll get picked in the first round anyway, and then he skips the 40, which to me gives teams pause again because 'cause they're like, "Are you not gonna" he might just go run one his pro day, run 4.51 and be like, "Okay, he just was waiting to run it once." But then what gave me much more pause was the fact that he had drops in the drills, and I'm like, I was worried about having to have dropping contested catches. If
He's
he's
dropping
dropping
in
in the
drills.
drills,
Yeah.
and he's not gonna take a huge drop. He's just too athletic and he was too good in college. But I thought he was a guy that I was like, I hope he's still around at 24 so we can grab him.
He might
Now
be
I'm almost wondering if he slides into the second
second,
round,
39.
which I
Casey,
would take him there.
yeah,
I
Casey
don't care about drops as much as other people. If you drop a ball once every game or 2, but you make big plays, I've said the same with Jerry Jeudy, I don't care. I'll eat the drops. T.O. had a ton of drops. He's also in the Hall of Fame. Like,
yeah,
if you can make up for the drops by being so good, awesome. But it gives me pause that he's dropping balls in drills because
yeah.
that should be a gimme.
James said Casey Concepcion caught everything, but they said he had drop problems. Sam thinks Eli Stower, sorry, 6'4", 339 tight end Vanderbilt ran a 4.5, gets separation. Yeah, he's more of a receiving tight end though. So I don't I
Another
don't
if he
think they're gonna
falls.
make yeah.
I mean, he's got the size to block. That's
He
a big
does.
big kid.
I think they're
He's not
yeah.
the 250 something that you
Why should
want.
pick a guy that can catch? They don't even care
To
about
be honest, though,
blocking anymore.
these guys can catch. You can put on weight. You can get them to block if you believe they have the drive. If the interview
Yeah,
comes out and you're like, "Oh, this guy's," who couldn't block when he came out of college? A lick,
David,
David Njoku. In fact, the reason he asked for a trade is
because he didn't want
because
to.
the regime before him was like, "We need you to start blocking." Yeah, he didn't want to do it. He's like, "No,
And
I'm
him
a
and
receiving tight end. I
him and
want to catch."
Kevin didn't get along because Kevin was telling him to block. If
And
you'll be a
Kevin and
better tight end if you
eventually they
block.
got him to buy in,
Yeah,
and they're like, he's an all-around tight end, and if he could stay healthy, he'd probably be a top 10 tight end, but he just
yeah.
can't pull it
So
all together.
draft strategy, best player available, need. What do you think? I know
Yeah,
we'll probably
so
talk about this for the next month or so, but
we will. I just thought it was a good time to talk about, like,
yeah,
it's basically there's 3 draft strategies. There's best player available, which I don't think people do very often, especially early, unless you're like it's something that I think teams do a lot more when they pick in the 20s because they're like, "We're already a playoff team. We're just gonna take the best guy here." If we have the guy
yeah,
ranked 11th and we pick in 24th, that's an easy pick rather than picking the guy that's ranked 20th and is at a position we need. I think most of the time it's a balance. Um, I think a lot of times though, what we don't count though is the predictive part of a draft, which is why I wanted to bring this up because we need a tackle, we need a wide receiver. I think we pick one of those 2 because I think one of those 2 will be available at 6. The question of which one you take, and of course, and like I said, somebody could fall and they could be like, "We had Downs as the number 1 player in this draft. We're taking him at 6. We'll figure the rest out in the long term. That's the best thing." But that would be a very best player available pick. The reality though is when it comes to even it's always to me probably a combination. You pick the best player available at a position you need because it doesn't help you if you have a quarterback to pick a quarterback. It doesn't help you to pick a left tackle if you have a left tackle. It's just one of those things. Like, it doesn't help you to pick a guard at 6 if you think guards should go later.
Yeah.
Swessinger was the best pick in the draft. We got him
So,
literally could be the best overall
yeah.
pick in that draft. We got him at 33 because you don't pick best player available. You pick him in his like valuable slot. The thing though I wanted to talk about though and bring it up now because as we get into draft season, it'll come up a lot. I don't think there's just a pure best player available on this team. I don't think there is a. I think it's going to come down to who's the best player available in the slots that are most important to you, which
Yeah.
are your need, but also super valuable players. And I think those two, the whole time, have been talked about as wide receiver and tackle. I think post combine is the first time you can look at big boards and depth charts and start, and you'll see guys start putting more thought into their mock drafts to get okay. The Browns think Carnell Tate is a very similar value to Spencer Fano. But now in free agency, you've picked up a right tackle. Does that
Mhm.
mean you now go receiver? And then the other question is, do you see a left tackle in your near future? Because if you're expecting somebody to start, you better expect to pick him at 24 or 39. And so I think it'll be the reality, I think, is that's what it's going to come down to. It's not going to be best player available. It's not going to be need. It's going to be if we pick this guy at 6, can we get the other thing we really want
Next in 24.
at 24? And this whole
Yeah.
time, because of the deepness of the receiving class, I was thinking, I bet they go tackle up top and they just take one of these receivers because it's a really deep class. Now, after the combine, you're getting some like more buzz on some of the tackles. Right, where I'm and then they picked to tackle 1 already in free agency. There's no receiver I see in our near future. I almost now wonder if they love somebody like Lemon or Tate, are they gonna be willing to take him at 6 or do their best to move back a few spots? Because now it looks like the left tackles are sitting in the 20s,
Yeah.
right? The right tackles are sitting up top. Left tackles are sitting in the 20s. So it's
And you
gonna be
need a left
really
tackle now.
interesting. Yeah, it's gonna be really interesting this offseason to see, you can't predict a trade back because somebody's got to trade back. But if you could trade back a few spots, get one of those receivers early before the gap, one of those top 3 guys before there's that little bit of a gap where they start falling in the 20s, is that all of a sudden the better move because you've got Miller sitting there around 24. Um, you've got who else is it? Um, you got
Um, it
who
would
knows where
be
Proctor go? Lomu.
yeah,
You've got
Proctor.
Lomu as
Yeah.
a left tackle. You've got Proctor. You've got Miller. You've got who you mentioned earlier, Monroe Freeling. Now
Freeling.
all of a sudden, like if you were able to get your receiver earlier, will there be part of that pile of left tackles available in the 20s? Because if so, that feels like you're going to get a best player available in the 20s
24.
if you went a different direction early. It's going to be really interesting to see how they navigate that.
Are you this is the analytical brain in my head. Are you worried about the hit rate for a receiver in the top 10?
No, only because I think I shouldn't say that. Yeah, everybody should be receivers up top. We're all over the first round. First round receivers have a pretty high failure rate. The only problem is most of the best receivers in the league. It's a lot like quarterback. Quarterback has like a 50% failure rate in the first round, but most of the playoff quarterbacks in the league, the franchise quarterbacks, are also first rounders. So you almost have to get those misses to get your guy. It bothers me to take a guy at 6 when there's nobody in this class that I think has the elite traits, and even when there is, they usually go around 6,
Yeah.
right? So it's not like receivers don't usually go 1, 2, 3. That's offensive tackles, pass rushers, quarterbacks, and others, and
Defensive
super
tackle.
elites, but, like, it would give me pause to take any receiver at 6 because I don't think there's anybody that is a Harrison, Neighbors, Chase, like, those guys just are not in this draft. That's why it's hard for me to believe that they
See, that's
will
what
take
worries me
that
about
early.
taking Tate at 10. I say, well, is he going to be a best one? Or is he going to, I don't know if he's a solid number one, basically is what I'm trying to say. Like, is he going to be a very, very great number two? And if you're
Yeah,
taking him at 6, I feel that's high
it is
because
high.
I think you're going to
It's high
get
for
him
any
when he's
receiver,
yeah,
let
yeah,
alone
that's
that
my
one.
point. Like
Yeah.
6, because
No, you're
the
right.
success rate for a receiver is 49% when you
Yeah.
draft them that high. So you do have a higher percent chance of
A lot like quarterback.
a lot like quarterback, yes. So I'm thinking like when
More
I'm
so
trying
than
to
people will ever admit. People are
yeah,
always like, "Oh, quarterbacks fail half the like, you bust 50% of the quarterbacks in the first round." I'm like, "You bust 50% of a lot of
a
positions
lot
in
of
the first
picks.
round
Yeah.
because
That
that's
matter
where
of
you
fact, the
take
best
the
one,
most projections."
the best one is defensive tackle, which by the way we traded back for last year. They're normally safer. They're at 71%.
I think my answer is, I would struggle, like, I'd be excited about Carnell Tate because that's just fun, a Buckeye receiver and probably the consensus top receiver in the class for most, like the 98% consensus number 1. That would be really fun. It'd be tough pill to swallow at 6. I'd feel a little more comfortable at 10 because I don't feel like that it's not that it's a big difference in pick,
Yeah.
it's that if they got him at 10, it means they probably got another second rounder or something, and then I'm like, "Okay, great." But to me, tackle is the better thing to pick up that high, which, by the way, we picked Jed Wills at 10, and he didn't really work out anyway, so, like and neither did, the guy Mekhi Becton that
Yeah.
the Jets took. He's
He was a
running
big guy
around the league as
too.
a journeyman guard,
Yeah.
and,
He's a
like
guard now.
so there's failures at those top positions. I feel better taking but what I guess my difference would be, I don't think Carnell Tate fails. I don't think
Mm.
Mekhi Lemon fails either. I don't see them as bust type guys because they're not athletic freaks that, like, didn't really play up to their potential yet in college. They are very polished receivers who can run routes. The question would be, are you okay getting a wide receiver 2 at that
Yeah.
spot? Because there's a very
That's
good
why I
chance.
feel
Yeah.
he's a wide receiver too. Um, and I don't mean to say that disrespectfully. I think a lot of when I look at his
He
numbers,
does have
like
the elite traits,
yeah, he has the
number
elite
1.
traits, and he does have like why is he getting open 20 yards downfield? Like, is it because they were focused on Smith a little
Yeah.
bit, so he took advantage of that? So there's a lot of
Yeah.
questions in my mind about that pick at 6. Now, if they take it as a Buckeye fan and as a guy who think they should pick as many weapons as possible, I'm not going to be upset. I'm still going to be like side eyeing it later on and wondering if this is right. Because if you pair him and Jerry Judy and you pair two twos, I think he would be a 2A and a
Yes.
2B. But
Still an upgrade, but
yeah, yeah. But
and
you
again,
get what I'm
Carnell
saying.
Tate could end up being Justin Jefferson. I don't know. We don't know,
Yeah,
right? But, like,
we'll see.
his profile is not like of a superstar
Yeah,
type
I
guy, but
was
he is the
all
number 1 in this draft. So,
yeah, I was all about Caleb Downs, but did you hear about the injury that he had? Saw
yeah.
his knee. Now they're thinking about his stock is going to go down. Like as somebody who you specialize in this more than I do, he's played it. He's played all year. I don't know if I don't think it's an injury. I just think it's something that happened that they're just spotting. Like, does that hurt him knowing that he? By the way, like more than one person saying he's the consensus top player in this draft, and it's a safety, which is amazing to begin with. But
Yeah,
would
I
that
mean, every once in a while, it's just based on, like, your grade. Every once in a while, it's a guard, and he goes 13th.
10,
And
13th?
say
Yeah.
I expect Caleb Downs to go around 10 before this news came out. Maybe it doesn't affect him, but what makes it impactful to me is if one team was on the fence that they were gonna take him or, like, people talked about the Cowboys trading up for him. Now, does that come off the table? Because 'Cause they're like, "We can sit and wait for him to fall to us,"
'Cause he might
or
fall to 12. Yeah.
right, is like, "We don't have to trade up for him because 'cause I'm hearing around the league that a couple people are concerned enough it's concerning enough to take a safety that early. Now if there's any extra risk, like, I could see where teams are like, "I don't know." It didn't I
Yeah.
mean
Yeah, do you know a lot about the degenerative, my gosh,
Degenerative
AC
ACL.
yeah,
It's basically
degenerative
like it
ACL.
basically gives the idea that, like, his ACL could have some straining or damage, which is gonna give teams the idea that, like, "Oh, he's at a higher risk than normal of an ACL tear." The
Mm,
reality, though, is to tear your ACL, you either pretty much have to hyperextend your knee, landing or running or in a divot or something, or it has to be a contact injury. So, like, I mean, it's not gonna happen just running around. It's probably gonna happen from, like, something strange, but something where his ACL might catch on that and just strain. People will be worried that he might tear it more easily. To
oh, so he's
me,
more prone.
he might be more prone to a tear in the same situation, but to me, it's gonna take a big situation where he would be likely to tear it anyway, so it wouldn't bother me. I don't think it's gonna deteriorate, and I can read deeper into it, but I don't believe it's gonna be we'll know. I mean, we don't have the medicals. If he falls to the second round or something, or then
Yeah,
it's like, okay. So
like a
then, like,
JOK situation.
the MRI was terrible, right? It's like, "Oh, there's something, like, really wrong there." But without knowing it, um, if it's just, like, a strained ACL, I wouldn't be worried about it because I would say unless it's something crazy on the MRI, if he was gonna tear it, if he gets hit in the side of the leg or hyperextends, good chance degenerative or not, it was gonna tear and they're gonna change it
Yeah,
into something else. So, I'm more of a, like, yeah, I just play him and hope it doesn't happen, and if it does, you lose him for a year and he'll be back. But
just
the
put some
question to me, it has more to do with, like, how did it happen? He must have strained it somewhere down the line or had another knee injury that caused it to get injured. I personally have a partially torn ACL in one of my knees now. Never bothered me since it bothered me a lot when I did it. Um, I did it in college doing mixed martial arts, and we were doing mat work, and I had it pulled. Uh, It got my leg got hyperflexed, it pooled, it tore fibers, but didn't tear enough that it ripped apart, and after the swelling went down, after I did rehab for, like, 2, 3 months, I go back to lifting weights, full squats, jumping, explosives, running, even cutting. I still played intramurals. I that ended my college, like, any wrestling or, like, grappling or, jujitsu stuff I was doing, like, that's done. I'm like, "I don't wanna tear this thing," but I could do everything. I played, ultimate. Uh I did, uh, sounds silly, but dodgeball. I did broomball.
pickleball.
Intramural, I did intramural, flag football. So, like, it has never bothered me in any
Mm,
way. But if somebody were to hit me in the side of the knee, something that might not tear my ACL, mine is probably a little more likely to tear. So that's gonna
yeah.
be out there for him.
Yeah, Sam brings up it's not an unpopular opinion, Sam, but he said unpopular opinion. But if safety Lorenzo Styles Jr. is in the third round, I think we should definitely snag him up. And that is a very popular opinion because if anyone helped his stock, it was
He
him.
blew up
Because
the
everybody
combine.
was so focused on his brother Sonny that he came in and was like, "Let me show you what I can do," and
Yeah.
he hits 4.27, 40-yard dash was best in history since 2003, sorry. 39-inch vertical, broad jump he opted out of, but the buzz is he's a nice, listen, nickel. He could be a nice nickel, which, by the way, we need. So somebody call call our guys up there in Berea, say, hey, keep your guy out for, and they love their Buckeye players, man. They do like Buckeyes. So I'm sure they're going to be looking at Lorenzo Styles Jr. and wondering,
New. We went, like, 18 years or something
without
like that
Buckeyes
without drafting more than, like, 2 Buckeyes in
every
the entire, like,
decade.
almost 2 decades of the draft to all of a sudden, like, we take Buckeyes all the time. Thank God. I used to get
Yeah.
so frustrated when I was younger at, like, watching every Buckeye come off the board,
And
and
play
they're, like,
good.
there for us, and we just pass them, and they turned out to be good, and I'm like, "Are we, like, We allergic to drafting like these local kids?
Or
Like, let's
even in
go.
Big Ten in general, because like Wisconsin players, you'd be like, "Oh, it's a good offensive line," or they're good defensive back. Like, it's like, why are we not? Big Ten normally
Yeah,
plays well,
frustrating.
especially in the uh, uh, offensive line category.
And again, you don't
Uh,
just wanna pick them for that reason, but we see them, we're excited about them, we're familiar with them. The fans would get excited, and they would be good. Like, I couldn't have wanted Clay Matthews more than
oh yeah,
any
and he was
player,
pretty decent.
and he was a good
Pretty,
player, and it was like,
yeah.
"Nope, we can't have him."
Yeah, well, guys, that ends our show tonight. Thank you for tuning in. Also, don't forget our draft party on April 24th at PJ McIntyre's, hosted by us. PJ McIntyre's, the Browns, West Park Browns backers is putting it on. It's a free event. Just come out, spend your money on some beverages and food, and you can hear Sam, who's in the chat, talk it up about who his favorite pick is in the draft, his scouting expertise. They've been doing a great job on Saturdays. So tune in on their show, 10 a.m. Very good show. Sam is doing good. He's got a lot of opinions, made, so he's gonna fire it on Saturday. So you guys got to tune
Yeah,
in there. Yeah, he's dropping some knowledge, guys. He's already studying for his draft bomb. So that's some good stuff there, Sam. Unpopular opinion. I think Lorenzo might go higher than a third. I think he helped his stock a little bit. Teams are
yeah,
gonna reach for him,
he
but
got
we'll see.
noticed. He kinda blew it
Well,
up.
guys, thank you for commenting, following. If you have not yet subscribed, like, follow, hop on that Apple
Yeah, it's so
iTunes,
helpful,
and
guys. It makes
yeah,
such a huge difference to have subscribers over listeners, so definitely
yes,
give us a couple of clicks.
yeah, X, YouTube, all of it. Give us. We need you guys. Just follow us, man. Our content is pretty good. Lives every Tuesday, 7:30, Saturdays, 10 a.m. We're growing. So thanks for tuning in. Until next time, like always, go Browns.
Go Browns.